you can turn any story into a comic, and it's just a stone's throw away from film.
Welcome to the Going North podcast, the podcast where you will be inspired to join the business of immortality known as authorship. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, member of the Maxwell Leadership Team, and best-selling author of the book, Stay the Course, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. Today's episode is sponsored by the Going North Podcast.com shop. Head over to that wonderful website to pick up some merchandise. We got shirts, hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, flags, notebooks, journals, just about almost everything under the sun, even stickers and buttons indeed for your lanyards and for your decorations as well. And we got multiple designs, advance others to advance yourself. We got the Going North Podcast.com logo as well as outread your competition to outlead your competition. And we even got bags too, so check out the wonderful podcast merch shop and be on the lookout for sales. They got wonderful 35% off sales spread out throughout every single month, so that way you can save even more money, so you can get more bang for your buck, so you can bang out your goals through the inspiration you're going to get today on this podcast. Check it out like a library book, my friends. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North Podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for you today, my friends. That's right, indeed. Courtesy of the mighty PM and the AM, or the PM and the PM, podmatch.com. That's right, indeed. The wonderful cyber podcast. Guests get to connect with the podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they get to be on the podcast host show. And today's guest is cool of the two cucumbers, indeed. Let me tell you a little bit about him, because today's guest in particular is a fellow author, a fellow writer, y'all, but he is a specialist in comics, graphic novels, short stories, and fast-paced first-person novels, y'all. So that's right, indeed. So creativity on level 100, indeed. And he loves to blend the wonderful fast-moving plots with epic sci-fi/fantasy themes, and to make it even better and not butter, my man is a jack of all trades. So Jill has to continue to be with Jack, indeed. So let's give it up for the mighty Q himself, Mr. Morgan Quaid. How you doing today, Morgan?
Hey, thanks, Dom. Thanks for that wonderful intro. I am doing well and pleased to be here.
Woohoo! It's right, dude. It's right, dude. It's a pleasure to have you here, man, especially since we got another wonderful guest from the land of Australia, y'all. Another Aussie's in the house.
We do, yes. So, g'day, if no one said that already. G'day. There you go.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about, dude. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 65 and a half days long, and it's your first time on the show. So mind filling in the listeners on a bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today, my friend?
Sure. So I am an Australian writer, music producer, and musician and such. So yeah, I write comics, novels, scripts, anything that I can get my hands on. Anything they'll let me write, I will give it a go. So yeah, I started with novels initially around about 15 years ago, and then sort of slowly built up from there. And then I discovered comics about 6 years ago now, and realized, wow, what have I been doing with my life all this time? I should have been making comics, because you get the words and you get the pictures as well, and it's pretty amazing. So then I sort of branched out into comics. And the whole way through, music has been a part of my life. It's actually how I fund the artwork for the comics initially, because there is a bit of an outlay that you have to pay for that. So those two things, writing and comics, have been a big part of my life. And the most recent part of the journey is moving into indie film, which is super exciting and a bit weird, but super exciting. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, my goodness, with all these wonderful interests and ideas and creativity, man, where does it all come from, man? Like, is writing and music producing like a way for you to try to keep the creativity somewhat documented before, I don't know, before you turn the age of 99?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the way I think about it is most creators have one of two demons or creatures kind of on their back, pushing them forward. And you get people that have the sort of perfectionist demon where everything has to be perfect and they're never going to be happy and all the rest of it. I don't have that. I have the one that is never you're never doing enough. You need to do more. You need to do quicker, better. You need, it doesn't matter what I do. I could finish writing a very lengthy novel that I'm incredibly proud of, and the day that I finish it, that part of my brain will say, "Well, what are you doing then? You've got time. You should be producing more. So get out there and start writing, buddy." So yeah, so I do have a lot of drive internally, probably because of a psychological issue, but we use what we've got. And in terms of creativity and all that sort of stuff, I get a lot of ideas. Like a lot of writers, I have a lot of different ideas pass through my brain. Probably 90% of them not great or not worth turning into a novel or a comic or anything like that. So there's a bit of catharsis that goes on as well with the process of writing, and it feels like you've kind of got to get this stuff out. And then you have the question of, well, what do I do with it now that it's out there? How do I get this in front of people? And reviews and promotion and all that wonderful stuff that we all love so much. But yeah, don't know if that answered the question, but I did definitely speak words, so that's a plus, I guess.
That's a new way of saying it. Because it's sure indeed, my goodness, my goodness. So speaking words, a man's been writing them for years. So my goodness, so did you eventually see yourself becoming a comic book author and creator down the line, and it finally manifested 6 years ago, or did you just write enough novels and then somehow like how was that transition, or should I say, how was that add-on process?
Yeah, well, it came out of probably a need to try different things. So I was trying the traditional route, find a literary agent, and then hope that they find a big publisher and all that sort of stuff. And it was for everyone that's been involved in that, they would know it can be quite a path to misery, that whole thing. So I did that for a number of years, and then just thought, you know what, this is just not working. At that time as well, self-publishing wasn't as viable an option, and I'm working full time and all the rest of it. So I just decided to park that. Then I just walked into a comic book shop, and I was never really into comics when I was younger, but I walked into a shop, 6 years ago or so, found these indie comics and thought, wow, these are great stories. They're not, I thought comics was just superheroes and spandex and all that sort of stuff, but of course it's not. And a lot has changed in the last 30 or 40 years in the comic area, and then graphic novels and all the rest of them. And what I saw was you can turn any story into a comic, and it's just a stone's throw away from film, which is something that I would love to be involved with. So I thought, you know what, I can do this. So I just started transposing novel ideas into comic book form, started writing scripts, started working with artists, started forking out large sums of money in the process, not knowing really at the start anything about how this whole thing works. And now I'm in the position where I suppose I'm probably known more for the comics than the novels and that sort of stuff. And I'm enjoying it thoroughly. It is much more of a business, if I can put it that way, or a publishing business than just writing, prose, because you have to, you're going backwards and forwards with artists, you're paying people, to put stuff together for you. So you really are managing a team of contractors, which is a very different proposition to just, well, I'm going to write in the dark and then I'm going to produce this amazing novel and everyone's going to love it. It's a different thing, but it's all good fun. Lots of good fun.
Oh, heck yeah, man. You can say that again. Definitely indeed. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's definitely a more costly endeavor just to compared to regular novel. Like, because it's like you got to pay the artist and it's got to be printed out properly. And whether or not you decide to go the color route with the pages, it's like, oh, let's mark this up at 10x it, buddy. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, it's very pricey, and so a lot of us use Kickstarter and those sort of crowdfunding campaigns to help recoup some of the costs involved. But it's a long game, and for those that don't know, most issues, a single issue is 22 to 24 pages, something like that, depending on what you do. Mine tend to be a little bit larger, and you're looking at anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per issue to get the artwork put together, and that's working with indie creators. So if you were doing it professionally, you could ratchet that up even more. So yeah, it is a big outlay, and you still have to do the promotion and the other stuff that you would do with a novel. So you don't really escape that as well. So I know that makes it sound slightly depressing, but the upside is you get to see your story come to life with visual characters, and there's a whole group of people that love comics that you get to interact with. So there are definitely pluses, but yeah, you've kind of got to have deep pockets to get into it, I think.
Yeah, that's right indeed. You gotta go to that big and tall store indeed, get a big old pair of pants. That's right indeed. Size like 60 waist or something. Like you gotta get that extra pair of pants. Gotta get like maybe 5 sets of cargo pants for all the pockets you'll need for all the money that'll have to spend doing it. So my goodness, man. So you actually mentioned Kickstarter. If I'm not mistaken, you did quite a few successful crowdfunding campaigns on top of everything else to fund your projects.
Yeah. I mean, I've actually got one running at the moment for a series called Enmity. Yeah, so I use Kickstarter quite a lot. The upside is you get to talk to people and interact with people from all around the world, show them what you've got. I instill a lot of fun into the campaigns as well. So I had a win your own theme song competition where I build a theme song for someone, that one of the backers that wins. And I'm giving away a couple of T-shirts and a few things like that. So yeah, it's all good fun. There is a bit of a misnomer though about how much money you actually raise and what happens with that money. So you may look incredibly successful on the screen when people come and have a look, but you can cut half the money off initially because you have to pay for printing and all the rest of that. Then with what's left, you cut half of that away as well, because people might say they're going to back, but then when it comes time to collect the money for one reason or another, they're unable to pay. So it's not the same as sales up front. So in the end, you end up with a significantly less. And of course, what people don't see is the actual cost of the artwork a lot of the time. So it's one of those things. It's necessary. It's really positive for the comic industry and for indies, but it's a lot of work, and it's not as simple as just having a business and then just selling something and people will come and pay for that thing. But I really enjoy it. The other thing is the timing. It does take a long time to run one of these things. So at a minimum, you're looking at 3 or 4 months from launching, running the campaign, fulfilling the campaign, all that sort of stuff. So you can only really do, 2 or 3 of those in a year, which is another thing that you can't, just do one every month and keep, pushing your product on people. So you've got to kind of look for other areas and, be very active in social media and have other avenues and publishers that you work with and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But again, though, it's a lot of fun. I've been fortunate that all of my campaigns have been successful, but I also I'll pay for the artwork up front and then lower the bar in terms of a successful campaign, because I just want people to have the comic. So it doesn't matter if I don't recoup all my costs. I've already paid for it anyway. The goal is that in the long run, I'll eventually get that back, he says, hoping that one day that happens.
That's right. He's like, today, dang it, Junior, come on today, Junior, come on, recoup today. But hey, that's definitely smart though. It's like, hey, because a lot of folks, they try to, if they can, use other people's money, because at the end of the day, it makes it a lot easier for both parties. It's like, hey, they get to pay in advance, and if they still got the money come collection time, then hooray. And the artist gets to keep a good portion of the funds. And I'm pretty sure Kickstarter usually keeps a little chunk of that, whatever you earn at the end of the campaign, if it's successful anyway. So, yeah, man,
Yeah.
definitely got to keep all that in mind.
Yeah. And it goes back to what I was saying before. You really are running a business, so you've got to think of it like a business, and costs and expenses and all that. And yeah, it's a bit different. If you think you're just gonna make the book and then that's it, there's kind of a bit more involved in that. You basically become a small publisher yourself, which is something that probably most of us didn't really want to do when we set out, but you end up going that way anyway. So that's fine. I'm totally a publisher now. That's how it works.
Woohoo! There we go. That business of immortality, baby. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, running successful campaigns and transitioning over to comic books, indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so with the whole comic book creation process, if I'm not mistaken, it's usually scripted out first, or do you like draw your characters first and then have the script in mind? Like, how does that usually work? Because it's a rare occasion where we have a comic book artist on this podcast, actually, or at least an
Yeah,
author
well,
behind a comic book.
yeah. Well, for those that aren't aware, so yeah, you do. Depending on the artist, I'll always write a script. So you end up with a script, which tends to be fairly light on detail for my case, because I'll rely on the artist to flesh out some of the details. So yeah, you start with a script, depending on which genre you're working with as well. So if you're working with a lot of indie artists that do manga style artwork, they prefer a storyboard. So they want to see where the characters are, and the angles that you're sort of using and all that sort of stuff. So for those, I usually do a script first and then turn that into storyboards, which are just stick figures, and a few directions and things like that. That's a little bit more work, on my side, but I don't mind doing it because it sort of helps the artist really imagine what you're trying to get across. But most indie artists can just go straight off the script. They'll ask you some questions. I do work with artists all over the world, though. So in, I think, about 6 different countries at the moment. So if I'm working with a US artist, a project that I just did called well, actually, the Enmity project that I was just talking about, the artist on that, David Schwartz, he was amazing and easy, and there was no real complications. He would just come back with a few things and say, hey, would you mind if I change this because it would look better? And I'll usually say, yes, go for it. You're the expert. Absolutely. That looks great. Whereas, I'm working with Argentinian, artists, or, someone in Poland, or sometimes the language barrier comes in a little bit. There's one case where an artist I was working with, great guy, beautiful artwork, and he sent a scene back, and I said, oh, this character really needs glasses, because it's important later on. And then he says, okay, no worries, I'll update it. So he updates it, sends it back, and I'm staring at this page thinking, he's definitely not wearing glasses. And I don't know what the artist has done. He's done something, but I don't know what he's done. It took me a little while to realize he'd put a glass of water on the table in front of the character. So he'd got confused between glasses and a glass. And so, of course, I went back with a picture of glasses and I said, yeah, I meant these ones, not that other one. So sometimes those sort of miscommunications happen. But usually they're pretty good at interpreting, what needs to happen.
Oh yeah, definitely understandable indeed. Yeah, especially, oh god, language barrier, especially with English having 2 words for almost every freaking other word that means the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a nightmare. I actually have to be very careful. So again, if I'm going to an English-speaking artist, I'll just write exactly how I would normally write. But if I'm going to someone, like I've worked with a few people in Indonesia doing the manga sort of stuff, I'll simplify the language a lot and use very like borderline sort of childish descriptions here and there, which is a really interesting thing, because you're used to, as a writer, in my case anyway, trying to be clear and precise, but also trying to be as encompassing as possible with descriptions, and trying to really, get emotion out of people. Whereas sending these storyboards across, I have to use these words that I would just not, so-and-so is smiling, happy, so-and-so looks sad and is pointing an angry finger at so-and-so, it's those sorts of that level, because they'll understand the sort of baseline emotion that I want. And then once the artwork comes back, I can work on the dialogue and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is an interesting thing, because you're right. The English language is just, it's like it's run by exceptions. Everything is A before E except after these 50 million cases where it's different.
That's right, indeed. Especially the spellings on top of that. It's like knife. Hey, you
Yeah.
forgot the K. What do you mean K? I didn't say knife. I said knife. Ah, you
Yeah.
forgot the K. Dang it. I guess that's not gonna be A-okay. So my goodness, man. So you got this wonderful Kickstarter project that's going on with 16 days left at the time of this recording. What's next on the horizon for you, my man?
Next I'm a project I'm very excited about, which usually means I'm about to do something very silly. So I'm talking. That's typically the way it goes. I have an indie film which is going to start recording next year, but I'm super excited about that. It's kind of a Western horror film with a director friend of mine. It's going to be called A Blood Moon Rising, and it's kind of horror, intrigue, drama, and potentially werewolves. Well, you'll have to wait and see. Anyway, so that's a really exciting project. The thing I'm next looking at though is a short film, a horror short film that I've written a script for. So I'm potentially going to be working with a US based production company on that. That's going to come down to cost and timing and all that sort of stuff. And I have not thought through at all, what do I do once this thing is made? Which contests am I going to submit it to? How do you monetize this thing? Haven't thought of any of that. I just got super excited about the prospect of doing a 10-minute horror film. The idea came to me in an afternoon. I wrote the whole script because it's only about 11 pages or so. So I wrote the whole script in a couple of hours. I think it's a really cool idea. I think people will love it. So now it's just down to the question of money and people and time. And is this going to be another folly where I just pour money into something creative and then think, well, that was great, but now I need to go to work to pay for it. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. And then, of course, the writing continues. I'm writing book 5 of a series of mine called The Seven Hungers, which is a urban fantasy horror novel series. So I'm up to book 5, which has its own challenges, and then writing 3 or 4 comics at the moment as well, and they're at sort of different stages. But yeah, the short film at the moment, that's the one that I'm super excited about.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So my goodness, what's a regular day like for my man, the mighty Morgan and D? Because my goodness, sounds like you got a lot of irons in the fire going, my man.
Yeah, well, a normal day. So, like many of us, I work a day job. So, fortunately or unfortunately, my son has a habit of waking up very early and has done since he was born. So, I usually get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, which means I have 3 or 4 hours before the day really starts, which is great. So, that's the time that I'll usually the first hour or two I'll spend writing, editing what I've written, all that sort of stuff. Then the next hour will be social media promotion. I do lettering for comics, for my own comics as well. So that's adding the text and all that sort of stuff. So that takes a bit of time. So I'll be doing that sort of stuff. Again, different types of editing, different types of promotion. If I'm running a Kickstarter campaign, I'll be doing a lot of that sort of stuff. So usually the first couple of hours of the day are the protected area where that's the my brain will be fresh. I'll be most creative then, and I can usually write fairly effectively. So every day I'll do that. And then the rest of the morning is really dealing with administration and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. And then it's on with the day. And then usually I'll be going to bed very early because I have to wake up at 4 the next day, thanks to my wonderful son. And yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes. Occasionally I'll do a little bit of writing at night, but very rarely, only if I can't sleep or if I have an idea like this, the script idea, then I just can't sleep, so I'll just get it done. But that's it. It's pretty standard stuff, really.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yes, indeed. Seems like because a lot of successful people tend to wake up extra early in the morning. It seems to take advantage of the fresh mind, that fresh brain. That's right,
Mm,
indeed. Before the evening mush sets in.
yeah. Yeah. And I find even if I'm tired, I can write very effectively. Whereas in the afternoon, I could spend 3 hours trying to write something and it'll be not great. So yeah, I think you've got to know the time that your brain works best. And I'm not a night owl by any stretch. So yeah, mornings is it for me.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, so since you've been on the guest side of the game for quite a while, promoting all the good work that you're doing, is there a question that you wish to be asked more often when you're on these podcasts?
Oh, well, normally most podcasts are pretty good at getting to the juicy stuff, and I'm not shy with that sort of business. I like people knowing about. This is going to sound really boring, but I like people knowing about the financial side of things because being an indie creator, particularly in the comic side of things, but even just with novels and that sort of stuff, it's for new people coming in, or it just doesn't seem to be the thing that's people know about widely. That look, this thing that you're doing, this creative endeavor that you're doing, there is um, a financial component to it. There's a time component to it, of course, and then there's the creative side and all that sort of stuff. But really, you're running your own business, and there's a lot to that. And even simple things like having a website that people can go to, being very easy to find on the internet, those sorts of things, that I think a lot of writers aren't great at having that up there. Then there's sort of getting your face out there and all that sort of stuff, which most of us hate. But maybe a question about that. Oh, I tell you what, there is one. Okay, so I actually, in the interim from when I first contacted you to come on here, I set up my own podcast. So I now have my very own podcast, which means I understand your pain. So one of the questions that I always include in the podcast, because it genuinely interested me, was the choice between Star Trek and Star Wars, and that the guest has to choose, and it invariably swings in one certain direction. So if you're willing, I would love you to ask me that question. What is my preference, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, of course, man. Trekkers are freaking everywhere, bro, man. So, which one do you prefer, my man?
Well, thank you for asking me that, Dom. I've been thinking about this for a long, long time, and I will say categorically, categorically, Star Trek. Now, I love Star Wars, always have. I was right there at the beginning. I've seen everything, but I've also seen everything of Star Trek. The thing that I love about Star Trek is that it goes deeper than great story, and there's much more philosophical speculation. There's much more genuine sort of sci-fi ideas that are explored, sometimes in a bit of a corny way, although the new stuff is amazing. But yes, so thank you for that, because almost 95% of the people that have come on my podcast so far have gone with Star Wars. So let's balance things out a bit, and I will go unapologetically Star Trek. And thank you for asking. Great question.
Oh, yeah, that's right, indeed. Gotta love that Trek. Goodness, indeed. That's right, indeed. Yeah, because I kind of came late to the party with some of the stuff, and it's like, oh man, I have to like start from the freaking beginning, and it's like, oh darn, like I'm so late to the party where it's like, man, I have to maybe dedicate a whole month to this.
Yeah, even more. There's a lot. There's a lot there.
Okay, so I have to take a whole leave of absence from work. Gotcha.
They'll understand. Don't they have Trekkie leave or something like that? Surely there's something like that you can take.
You know what? That should be new policy in the country. That's right. Every employee that works a 9 to 5 is entitled to Trekkie leave. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
That's right, indeed. If you do a perfect William Shatner impersonation, you get an extra day. Oh man! So my goodness. Since a man is doing the good work indeed, the Enmity series, if I'm not mistaken, that's the upcoming project, the comic book series, indeed. Since that's the one getting to play at the time of this recording, if that particular comic series was a food, what would it be and why?
It would be something with a lot of chili. So I would say maybe some salsa on the side, maybe quesadillas or something like that. Something with a Mexican sort of vibe, lots of chili, lots of heat, because it is about, it is set in the post-apocalyptic world, and there's a lot of action, and it centers around a girl named Daisy, who is searching for her father in the post-apocalyptic world, and her father just happens to be Lucifer, who actually bought on the whole apocalypse because he just decided one day he wasn't going to do his job anymore because he was so bored with it. Yeah, so it's got a lot of spice and action in it. So I think, yeah, something with some chili would be nice.
Woo! What my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, chilies, baby back, chilies. Me and my corny brain couldn't resist that. That's right indeed, chili. That's right indeed. Yeah, who knows? I think you might be the first guest to actually mention chilies. All right. That's right indeed.
Wow.
That's right indeed.
There we go.
Hot chili. That's right indeed. It's spicy, y'all. It's spicy. That's right indeed. That's right. If you have a taste for spice, because spice is nice, definitely pick up the series indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Pick it up like 5 library books, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
It takes time. The thing that you're wanting to do is going to take time, and you need to build it slowly, brick by brick. All of these overnight success stories, ignore them, because most of the time they're not actually overnight. It's just something that the media likes to sell, and that's going to make you doubt yourself and feel like you're not a success if you don't get there straight away. Much better to realize from the start, anything worth building is going to take time and effort, and that's okay, and it's positive, and it's good. So work hard, get started, but expect it to take time, young fella. And also, don't worry about the hair thing. You'll lose it really soon, and that's fine. It's actually quite good. Once you get rid of it, you don't have to pay for haircuts anymore. You don't have to worry about product or what style or anything. You can do without the hair. It's fine. Just grow a beard.
That's right. And the airflow is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Aerodynamic. Because, of course, I move so fast.
There you go. That's right indeed. Forget about the hair, baby. That's right indeed. The hair will disappear. It will pull a magic trick. It's like, hey, watch me disappear. And then it's like, hey, you're going to come back? And they just hear crickets. It's like, oh, I guess that's life now. Okay.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone and it's not coming back.
What went wrong? She's gone. So indeed. So for those who listen to Hall & Notes and maybe need to stop playing Hall & Notes and actually hop on my man's wonderful website and cop some copies of your marvelous books and share with some friends, family, and heck, maybe even a camel, what's the best way for folks to do so, my man?
Nice and easy. They just go to morganquaid.com and you will find all the things you could possibly know about my books and projects and all that sort of stuff, probably more than you'd ever want to know. You can also find me on social media, but morganquaid.com is probably the best place to go, and then you will find your way from there. And feel free to get in touch. Always happy to chat with other indie creatives and writers and all sorts of people, even the weird ones. It's fine. So yeah, feel free to get in touch.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about. So here the folks, head over to morganquaid.com, baby. The mighty Q themselves got you covered like a library book blanket indeed. That's right indeed. And be sure to check out a few of his episodes on the Very Occasional Podcast, baby. That's right indeed. Because a man's straight up honest with you. It's like, hey, it's very occasional. Will you see an episode this week? We don't know. Will you see one next year? We don't know. It's going to show up eventually. That's right indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And keep up with this journey, indeed, because there's more hot stuff coming your way, indeed, and more ways than one. So, my goodness, any parting words before we close up shop, my friend?
Yeah, I would just say that life is good, and keep doing the thing that you're doing, people. I don't know. I didn't think of anything beforehand, so now it's just gibberish. But sometimes gibberish can be good. Enjoy.
Thanks a bunch for gifting us with your time and your ears to this podcast. If you want to make yourself even more super special awesome, like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you care about and spread the word so that way we can get this show out to as many people as possible and encourage them and inspire them to one day become published authors of their own and join the business of immortality. Advance others to advance yourself.